Sounds terrifying, Lucifer. I want to hear them. Hello, Leslie. Everyone who has came in for a scary story, welcome. My name is Bryn Morgan. I'm a horror author. I'm also a teller of scary stories. Do you like scary stories? Oh, you do? Then welcome. I tell them all here. Paranormal, ghost, true crime, serial unalivers, urban legends, cryptids, Appalachian horror. Oh, speaking of, tonight is Appalachian horror. Have you been following the story of Cherry Hill? Tonight, it continues. Last we left, Maggie was at the tree with all the names of the children carved into it that had went missing for years, decades, centuries. She knows that something is lurking in the black past. But what? So she goes out on her own. She begins to see shadows, children calling her name. Kenna. And she collapses. The world goes dark. Tonight we take up there. But first, we have a way of how we enter into storytelling here. And if you are new, follow along. Lower your lights. Lock your doors. Light a candle for ambiance. What we all know is to chase those shadows away. And they are coming. Pull your curtains nice and tight. Wrap yourself in your warmest blanket to avoid the chills that are about to crawl up your spine. And let's begin. Let me see in the comments. I'm ready for my story. How is the music? How about now? Thank you, Mia. Thank you, thank you. Let me know how it is now. I'm getting ready to start recording. I'd like to hear from about 5 people. Okay, perfect. All right. The storm had turned the mountain into a living thing, growing, shifting, clawing the trees. Rain fell in cold, punishing sheets, slicing through the air like glass. The wind howled, twisting Maggie's hair across her face to where she couldn't see, dragging at her clothes as she lay sprawled on the ground beneath the tree. The great oak loomed above her, black as lightning, except for the names. With every streak of lightning, the names became visible. Torrance, Jonathan, Mark, Lindsay, Bella, Leanne, Catherine. The names went on and on and on. Each one a whisper on the storm. Kenna, help us. Kenna. The wind breathed her name. The children's voices breathed her name. And something in the shadows said her name. Maggie stirred weakly, her hands clawing at the mud, trying to get a grip, but she could not because the ground was slick and cold. The children. Oh my God, look at all the names of the children. Another bolt of lightning hit the ground somewhere nearby. Mumbled voices broken by thunder. She looked higher and higher into the branches, the tree, the shadows. It was as if they were coming down toward her. A creak of lightning cracked the sky, and in a brief, merciless go, a figure broke through the rain. Maggie passed out. The whole world went dark. Graham Sinclair. He was fighting his way down the narrow, treacherous path, boots sliding, soaked to the bone, his black coat whipping behind him like wings. He panicked when he saw her there. A small shape crumpled at the base of that cursed tree, and a bolt of fear ripped through him so fast that it stole his breath. God, don't let her be dead, he thought. Maggie! He shouted, his voice nearly lost to the storm. The wind had risen to a degree that he could not even hear his own voice. He stumbled forward, dropped to his knees beside her, and when his hands touched her shoulder, she was ice. Her skin was pale as marble, her lips blue, her lashes fluttered, but she didn't seem to see him. Maggie, look at me, he said roughly, brushing the wet hair from her forehead. Her eyes had rolled back, and she murmured something, words that he could barely catch. The children, they're calling me. His jaw tightened. Christ, I've got to get you out of this rain. He gathered her up against his chest, one arm under her knees, the other across her back, and rose with her in his arms. The rain was blinding, stinging to his flesh. The ground was slick, and every step down the path was a battle. His boots skidded, his breath coming hard, his muscles straining against the weight and the cold. He almost slipped into the river. Hold on, he muttered, his accent thick, the words trembling against her hair. You're all right, lass. I've got you. Lightning split the sky again, so close that he could smell the ozone, see the afterburn white against his vision. The wind howled through the trees like something chasing them. Maggie's head lolled against his chest, her breath shallow, her body trembling violently. She murmured again, something about the tree, about the shadow in the distance, something about names, but the names were drowned out in the storm. Graham slipped again, catching himself hard against a rock, but he never let her go, not once. Mud streaked his clothes, ran running down his face in rivers. The black veil roared somewhere behind them, swollen and wild, a ghost shimmer in the flashes of lightning. At last he saw the shape of his Land Rover come out of the darkness through the rain, parked on the side of the dirt road. His headlights faint through the downpour. He staggered the last few feet, wrenched the door open with one arm, and eased Maggie into the passenger seat. Her head rolled limply against the headrest. Her eyes were half open but unfocused. Stay with me, lass. Stay with me, he muttered, fumbling for the keys, hands shaking from the car engine as it roared to life, the dash light spilling a soft amber glow across her pale face. He was worried about her, terribly worried. He cranked the heat up to full and reached across, brushing her hair back, tracing the curve of her temple. Her skin was clammy, her teeth chattering so much that it hurt to listen. You're safe now, he said, voice low and steady. You hear me, Maggie? You're safe. But she was gone again, drifting somewhere between this world and another world, to things that were unseen. He pressed the seatbelt across her, clipped it in place, and sat for a moment, his heart pounding as hard as the rain on the roof. Christ! Christ, why did you go out there, Maggie? The medallion around her neck gleamed faintly in the dark, a light amber, tinged with gold, as though holding some inner fire to it. Outside, the storm screamed. Inside, Graham Sinclair gripped the steering wheel, jaw tight, and drove her away from the mountain. He could take her to the hospital, but he thought she'd be okay if he could get her out of the wet clothes, get her somewhere warm. He didn't want her coming under the scrutiny of the town. That was the last thing that he wanted. He wanted her someplace safe, where he could watch her. The nightmare. Darkness swallowed everything. Maggie was running, barefoot, soaked, lost in a forest that moved with her. The trees groaned, the ground sucked at her feet as if it was trying to pull her under. Children's laughter rang out in the storm, thin and distant. And then a voice above them all. Get up. The name echoed through the rain, rising into screams. Small hands reached into the shadows, pale and cold, brushing her arms, her hair, her throat. She stumbled, fell, and the darkness swallowed her whole. She screamed. She felt like she was falling off the edge of a cliff. Her head hung down. And then light. A blinding golden light cutting through the dark, pulling her up off the cliffside. Strong hands caught her, pulling her up, holding her tightly against something solid and warm. Maggie! The voice broke through, deep and commanding. Maggie, it's all right. You're here. It's Maggie. Maggie! It's Graham! She fought it at first, still trapped somewhere between the dream and the waking world, clawing at the air, gasping for breath. No! Let me go! Don't let me fall! Don't let them! It's all right. It's all right, lass. I've got you. Arms wrapped around her tighter, firm but gentle, holding her against a heartbeat that was steady and real. She felt the rough fabric of a shirt against her cheek, the faint smell of cedar smoke. Maggie, the voice said again, closer now, softer. It's Graham. You're safe. You're with me. You're here with me. I'm not going to let anything get you. Her breathing slowed. The nightmare ebbed like a tide, retreating. She opened her eyes slowly, her lashes wet from crying, and saw a face above hers. She couldn't make it out. She couldn't make out the voice. She saw that the expression was worried, rain-tousled hair falling across his forehead. You're all right, lass, he murmured. You're out of the woods. I've got you. His voice was low and certain, and something about the warmth in him made her ache. She blinked up at him, her voice a hoarse whisper. The children. I have to get back to the children. I know, he said quietly, brushing damp hair from her face. But you're safe now. He held her until the trembling stopped, until the sound of the storm faded to no more than rain against the windows. And when she finally drifted back into a dreamless sleep, Graham sat beside her, watchful, silent, the firelight flickering across his face, knowing that he'd found her just in time. And that made him tremble. The first thing that reached her was the sound, the deep rhythmic thrum of rain, softened by thick walls of thunder and timber. It wasn't just rain anymore. It had turned into a torrential downpour, sharper, a faint tap of sleet whispering against glass. Each gust of wind brushed the eaves like a sigh. Somewhere close by, the low rumble of a dryer cycled to a stop, then clicked and started again. The steady hum anchoring her to something real. The air smelled like cedar and smoke and something faintly metallic. Clean rain carried in on someone's clothes, mixed with the deep musk of a man's cologne. Beneath that, she caught a whiff of flannel, warmed by skin. Her eyes fluttered open slowly. The light was dim, golden, lantern soft. A small lantern burned low on the dresser, its shade throwing honey shadows across the room. She was not at Cherry Hill House. The walls were hewn logs, honey dark and smoky in the corners. A small window was curtained in thick wool drapes the color of wine. Beside the bed sat a stack of books, a worn leather chair, and an old stone hearth where the embers still glowed faintly. Somewhere beyond the doorway, she could hear a faint murmur, male, deep, indistinct, like someone talking to themselves or the television turned down low, perhaps. Maggie stirred beneath the weight of the heavy quilt. It smelled like rain and pine and faint traces of wood smoke. She pushed herself up a little and realized she wasn't cold. Her body felt strangely heavy, her limbs languid, tucked beneath covers, cocooned in its warmth. Then she noticed the flannel shirt. It was soft and oversized, a deep blue and black plaid that smelled unmistakably masculine. The hem hit her mid-thigh, brushing bare skin. Her pulse jumped as memory of the storm flickered through her. The tree, the rain, arms lifting her up in the mud. She sat still for a long moment, her mind fogged, her heart feeling like it would thud completely out of her chest. Where was she? And whose place was this? Outside, ice ticked against the window. The dryer droned, then clicked off again. Silence rolled in behind it, thick, absolute. And then, faintly, she heard a sound at the door. A low huff, a snuffling breath. Before she could move, something wet and warm brushed her fingers, startling her. She jerked her fingers back instinctively, blinking down to see a large, russet-colored head resting on the edge of the mattress. A dog. An Irish setter. Massive and elegant, with long, silky ears and eyes the color of caramel. He gave a deep, soft woof and nudged her hand again. Hello there, she whispered, voice hoarse. He wagged his plume of a tail once, twice, the motion slow and graceful, as if careful not to disturb her. His fur caught the lamplight, rich mahogany, gleaming, thick. She noticed the faint whirl of hair right on top of his head, a little cowlick that made him look almost boyish. The sight pulled a shaky smile from her. And who are you? She murmured. And then the name came to mind. Connor. Connor. She said it. The name surfaced in her mind before she even knew how she knew it. And when she said Connor, he wagged his tail. He nudged her hand again, licked her fingers once, and then rested his chin there as though to say, stay still. You're safe. Maggie's throat tightened unexpectedly. She glanced around the room again. The low timber ceiling, the faint hum of the furnace somewhere beneath the floor, the dryer cycling again, the comforting, steady rhythm of it all, the soft scent of amber and pine and something that was. She knew that scent. She pressed her palms into the quilt, taking in the weight of the flannel against her skin, the warmth of the bed, the hush of the storm outside. It was then that she realized she hadn't felt this safe in years. Even before the attack. Years. It was the kind of warmth like being home when you're a child in your own bed, knowing that your mom or dad tucked you in because you fell asleep in the living room on the couch watching a movie. That kind of warmth, that kind of comfort. And yet, even as that thought settled the memory of the tree, the shadows, and the whisper of her birth name, Kenna, echoed faintly through her mind. But for now, she just let Connor stay. The dog's slow breathing matched hers. He jumped up on the bed and lay curled at her feet, the storm keeping time against the glass. Well, that was a fiasco, wasn't it? Maggie lay back against the pillow, the warmth of the flannel sheets lulling her. The storm outside had quieted to a steady percussion of rain against the pillows, the faint hum of the dryer somewhere beyond the door fading in and out like a heartbeat. Connor's soft breathing filled the room from where he slept, curled at her feet, the big red head rising and falling with each slow exhale. Her body was heavy with exhaustion, her mind fogged by everything that had happened. The black veil, the tree, the children's names carved in wood, the warmth and steadiness of the bed pulled at her like a tide. She let her eyes close. She allowed herself to sink into the dark. Into sleep that came deeper and heavier than she intended. And then the room dissolved into shadows. At first, Maggie thought it was the storm again, the rumble of thunder, the flicker of lightning. But this darkness moved differently. It breathed. It pulsed. It knew her. The forest came first. dripping from black branches, the ground slick and cold beneath her bare feet. Why wasn't she wearing shoes? She always wore shoes. Why was she barefoot? And why was she wearing a tattered black dress? Then the trees folded in on themselves, twisting the shape of the room. Stone walls, candlelight, and the faint scent of smoke and iron. Her heartbeat filled the silence, heavy and uneven. And then she sensed it. Someone in the room with her. A man exhaled. She froze. The sound was close. Too close. And she could feel warmth against her back. The brush of air from another body behind her. Her breath hitched as she turned her head, but she saw only fragments. A shoulder, the edge of a jawline, a hand moving through the dark. She whimpered as the man called her name with his deep voice. The sound was deep and rough. She couldn't place the name. It trembled through her, the cymbals sliding down her spine. No, my name is Maggie. Say your name. Maggie. Maggie. No. His fingers ran down her arms, causing chills to surface on her skin, the goosebumps. Say your name. He tilted her head and whispered directly in her ear. Say your name. Kenna. That's right. The name you were given at birth. Say it again. Kenna. Yes. Kenna. The man swept her up into his arms. Fingers brushed her collarbone as he lay her down, hesitant, almost reverent. The heat of a palm found her throat where the medallion lay. It began to glow, throwing off a dim silver light that caught in his hands, but never on his face. She felt her shirt give way, buttons loosening one by one, as though undone by invisible hands. Air hit her skin, cool and electric, followed by the whisper of a touch, a thumb tracing the line of her neck. Kenna. The warmth of breath against her shoulder. Her pulse thundered. The world around her blurred again. The walls melting back into the forest into firelight. And then the fire into darkness that pulsed in rhythm with her heart. She could still feel him, smell him, his weight on hers, his breath, his heartbeat against her own. But she could not see him. She could not know him. But she will never forget the branding of his fingers on her skin. Every time she reached to touch him, her fingers metallically smoke. The word came again, thick with something that wasn't just desire. It was possession. It was need. The air grew hotter. The medallion flared white, flooding the dream with silver fire. Then came the voices, dozens of them, children crying and calling her name from somewhere beyond the heat. Kenna! Kenna! Help us! The room shook. The warmth shattered. The man's breath turned to wind, his touch to cold. She stumbled backward into darkness, screaming as the bonfire swallowed the trees. Maggie! A different voice now. Sharper, human and real. Maggie, wake up! For God's sake, wake up! Her eyes flew open. The cabin light was dim, golden, flickering against the walls. Rain still hammered the glass, and Graham was leaning over her, his hands gripping her shoulders. His voice trembled with urgency. It's just a nightmare, lass, he said. You're safe. You're here. She blinked at him, disoriented, her pulse still racing, the echo of that whisper still curling in her ears. Kenna. A man's voice, a man's deep voice, a man's raspy, husky voice calling her Kenna, and unbuttoning her dress, and a bonfire, and an altar. What did it all mean? Connor whined softly from the floor, pressing his head against the mattress. Maggie turned her face toward Graham's shoulder, the scent of soap and wood smoke grounding her. I'm Kenna. No, you're Maggie Drake, and you're just having a nightmare. It's all right, lass. Who keeps calling me that? Who keeps calling me Kenna from the shadows? Shh. The sound of rain had softened to a distant hush. Maggie stirred beneath the heavy flannel sheets, her body aching with the kind of fatigue that came from both cold and fear. For a long moment, she lay still, unsure of where she was. The scent of pine smoke and something faintly musky surrounded her. Then she heard it, the slow, rhythmic thump of paws on hardwood. Connor, her new friend. The big Irish setter trotted into the room, tail sweeping the air, his hair covered with that intelligent red gold mop of burr that gave him the look of a nobleman's old companion. Who do you belong to? She asked. He stopped beside her and nudged her hand with his nose, his breath warming down. Hey, handsome, she murmured. She pushed herself up, wincing a little as she sat. The shirt she wore, the man's flannel, the deep blue and black, soaked with age, hit her mid-thigh. Her bare legs were tangled in the sheets. She glanced toward the chair near the wall, hoping to see her jeans draped there, but they were gone. The faint hum of a dryer somewhere beyond the door explained that mystery. She looked around. Connor let out a short huff. Maggie got out of the bed. She turned and followed him toward the door, pausing to glance back, as if urging her to follow. All right, lead the way. The hallway was narrow and warm, lit by morning light slipping through high windows. The scent of coffee drifted toward her, mingled with the earthy sweetness of honey. and toasted bread. The walls were lined with framed photographs, rugged mountains, old timber bridges, autumn forests painted in fire red leaves. When she stepped into the open living space, she stopped. The entire far wall was glass, floor to ceiling, stretching from one end of the cabin to the other. Beyond it lay the valley, Cherry Hill, veiled in mist, the last of the rain dripping from pine needles that glittered silver in the weak light. The distant ridgeline of the Black Pass loomed dark, quiet, under a blanket of fog. It took her breath, and for a moment, she forgot entirely that she wasn't alone, until she felt a sharp intake of breath and the weight of someone's gaze. She turned toward the kitchen, and her eyes widened. Graham Sinclair stood in the kitchen near the counter, one hand braced against the sink, the other holding a steaming mug. His salt and pepper hair was tousled, his jaw shadowed, his blue-green eyes sharp, even in the soft light. But it wasn't his expression that made her heart stumble. It was his silence. For just a second, Graham Sinclair forgot to breathe, forgot how to breathe. The sight of her standing barefoot in his shirt, her hair falling in long red waves around her waist, the morning light tracing every curve of her, it rooted him in place. He couldn't think. He couldn't comprehend. Then he blinked and forced himself to move, breaking the spell with a small smile. Well, hello there, Sleeping Beauty. Maggie blushed, glancing down at her bare legs before tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. How long was I out? He sat his mug down. Since yesterday afternoon. You gave me a bit of a snare there, Maggie. Yesterday? She blinked, genuinely surprised. I must have been exhausted. A storm like that'll do it. His tone was casual now, the tension easing as he motioned toward the small pine table near the kitchen. Looks like you could use something to eat. Why don't you have a seat? She nodded and took a careful step, and then wavered. Her knees felt unsteady, her legs weak. Before she could fall, Graham was there, steady hands catching her by the elbow. Easy there, lass, he said softly. His touch was firm and grounding. Guess I'm not as sturdy as I thought, she murmured. You'll get there. Give yourself some time. The warmth of his hand lingered after he stepped away. The cabin itself reflected him, rugged but elegant. The walls were a deep honeyed wood with thick beams running across the ceiling. A stone fireplace dominated one side of the room, its mantels stacked with worn books and a clock that ticked softly in the silence. A leather sofa faced the hearth, and a woven blanket was tossed over the armrest. Everything smelled him. Everything looked him. She watched as he reached for the toaster, slid in 2 slices of bread. He looked at her. Peanut butter and honey toast for breakfast? I'd offer something fancier, but this will stick with you. Her lips curved. Honestly, that sounds perfect. He poured her a cup of coffee and handed it over. How do you take it? 3 creams, 3 sugars. He chuckled, opening a small container. Do you want any coffee with your cream? She laughed. A soft, small laugh. A soft, genuine sound that felt strange in her own throat after the heaviness of the past days. It's an acquired taste, I bet. She watched him move, the quiet confidence, the ease. There was something reassuring about the way he filled the space. When he slid his plate toward her, toes drizzled with golden honey, she felt something in her chest unclench in a way that she hadn't felt in quite some time. I don't know what to say. Thank you for rescuing me, she said quietly, fingers brushing the edge of the plate. He looked up, meeting her eyes. You almost died out there, you know. I knew that storm was coming, and that you were out there alone. I couldn't leave you like that. Thank you for finding me. He gestured toward Connor, who had stationed himself at her side, his big red head resting heavily on her thigh. But thank that boy right there. He found you before I did. She smiled and reached down, scratching between his ears. Thank you, Connor. The dog thumped his tail once, pleased with himself. How do you... You must have heard me calling his name. The dog thumped his tail once, pleased with himself. Graham leaned back against the counter, his arms crossed loosely. You gave both of us a hell of a fright. You know that? I'm sorry, she said, her voice soft but honest. I didn't mean to drag anyone into this. Too late for that, he said, but there was no bite in it, only quiet amusement and maybe something else. Something that lingered in the air between them, warm as the fire burning low in the hearth. For the first time in a long while, Maggie Drake felt safe. Not entirely free of fear, but safe enough to breathe again. The rain had quieted to a faint, steady drizzle outside, tapping against the wall of glass that opened onto the valley and the black pass below. The smell of coffee, honey, and warm toast filled the air, mixed with the faint musk of cedar and smoke from the fireplace. Maggie sat at the small pine table, her third piece of toast halfway gone. She hadn't realized how hungry she was until now. Every bite felt grounding, something solid in the swirl of everything else. Connor had appointed himself her bodyguard, it seemed, lying at her feet with his big red head pressed against her leg. His tail thumped occasionally when she reached down to stroke it. But beneath that domestic calm, Maggie's thoughts were scattered. She couldn't stop worrying about Dune. He was still up at Cherry Hill House alone, hopefully curled up on her bed, safe. She tried to shake the thought, but the unease lingered like fog. Graham was across the kitchen, moving with easy rhythm. The scrape of a chair, the clink of a spoon against the mug, the gurgle of fresh coffee pouring. His cabin was all amber light and soft shadows, a place of warmth against the gray morning beyond the glass. When he turned toward her, she noticed again how effortlessly composed he was. His flannel pajama bottoms matched the shirt she wore. His shirt, she realized, and he looked entirely at home here. Barefoot, casual, but with that quiet gravity that never really left him. He poured another cup of coffee, leaned his hip against the counter and asked almost conversationally, "So, what did you find in Mary's place?" Maggie's head snapped up. "How did you know I went there?" He met her gaze, unflinching over the rim of his cup. And then he set it down. "Word travels fast, Maggie. In a small town like Cherry Hill, everybody knows everything." She frowned, looking down at her coffee. Of course they do. When she spoke again, her voice was softer, almost sorrowful. "Graham, did you know that 2 of Mary's children went missing? Not just Olivia, but her son Dylan, too?" He didn't flinch. He didn't even blink. He just nodded, slow, deliberate, and calm. That calmness ignited something in her. "That's it," she said, her tone rising. "That's the reaction that I get from everybody in this town. Just a nod. No anger, no fear, no outrage, just acceptance. Like it's normal." "Maggie." "No, listen to me." She leaned forward, the emotion in her voice sharpening. "I wish you could have seen that tree, Graham. When the lightning flashed, it lit up like it was alive. Every name carved into that bark. It glowed for a second like fire. Dozens, hundreds of children's names maybe, and everyone here just shrugs. What in God's name is wrong with you people?" She stared at him, her voice trembling now. "Does it not faze you? Does it not faze you that all these children are gone?" He sighed, setting his coffee cup down before walking over to her side of the table. "It bothers me more than you think, lass," he said quietly. She shook her head, tears burning behind her eyes. "You know, Mary said the Black Pass took them? That the pass itself takes them? What does that even mean? Why would someone take children?" Connor became disturbed and started whining, licking her fingers quickly. "Maggie, answer me! What is it that is in the Black Pass, Graham? What is it?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked past her toward the rain-soaked mountains, the fog curling low over the ridge. And there was a rumble of thunder. "You're stirring things up, Maggie Drake," he said finally. "Things that don't want to be stirred, lass. You've been here long enough to know the air feels different now. Heavier." She stared at him, incredulous. "Heavier? Graham, children are missing. They're always missing. I attended a circle the other night. Do you know what that is?" You went to that?" "I did. I went to it, and do you know what they were doing? They were praying. Praying that more children wouldn't be taken. But you know what Chloe said to me? That they would be taken." His voice deepened, rougher now, but still steady. "You don't understand, Maggie. There are things in those mountains older than time, older than all of us. You start digging and you wake things that shouldn't be woke. She pushed back from the table, standing. You sound just like everyone else. You've all just decided to look the other way. Well, let me tell you what. I'm not. He rose too, moving closer, his composure like stone against the fire. I'm not looking the other way, Maggie. I'm trying to keep you alive. Her breath caught at the edge of his tone, protective and fierce. She wanted to argue, but the warmth of the cabin pressed against her skin, and the storm outside seemed to murmur against the glass like 1,000 distant whispers. She started, but the words caught her in the throat. I don't understand any of this. The trees, the names, the storm, the way my medallion heats up when I get close to that place, the way it heats up when there's any sense of danger. He stepped closer, close enough that she could see the flecks of green in his blue eyes. Stop trying to understand, Lass. He said quietly. You're digging into things you can't reason with. Leave it be, Maggie. Whatever's beyond that valley. Look! He made her look out the window. Whatever lies out that valley beyond Cherry Hill, that black ridgeline is not to be crossed. Maggie, there is evil there. Evil that you cannot even begin to understand. Her voice broke. And you just accepted that. That whatever is beyond Cherry Hill is just taking the children and just let it go and let it be. He exhaled, running a hand through his hair. Maggie, I've accepted that it's not the town, Lass. It's what's beyond the town. She stared at him, confusion, anger, and something else all tangled in her chest. But what is it? What is it, Graham? What's taking the children? What's taking them from the Black Pass? He didn't confirm it, but his silence was enough. The air between them tightened. She wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly aware of the cold creeping back in. Do you have a robe? She asked softly. I feel so cold. He hesitated only a second before disappearing down the hall. The sound of his bare feet against the floor was soft and deliberate. When he returned, he draped the long flannel robe over her shoulders. It smelled faintly of his soap and cedar. Thank you, she murmured. He stood there for a moment, looking at her, and then said, Maggie Drake, look at me. His eyes were a deep blue-green. She could lose herself in them. I know you want answers, but some answers aren't meant to be found. She looked up at him, defiant. True. And some things aren't meant to be hidden. Their eyes locked. Hers fierce and green. His haunted and turquoise. The rain picked up again, hissing against the window. Connor let out a low sigh and rested his chin on her foot, and for a fleeting second the cabin felt like a world unto itself, safe and dangerous all at once. Graham's voice was softer now, almost pleading. Don't go back there, Maggie. Promise me you won't go back. I can't promise that, Graham, she whispered. He studied her face, jaw tightening. Then I go with you, or you're not going at all, and I don't want to hear one word from you. For the first time, she saw something flicker behind those blue-green eyes. Not anger, not fear, but something more fragile. Concern. Maybe even something close to care. We'll stop there and take a intermission, and we'll take about 10, and when we come back I will continue reading Cherry Hill. I hope you are enjoying it so far. I have to admit, I think it's great having the option of standing and telling the story, or sitting down. I love having both options available. So, a couple things that I want to go over during intermission. One of them is Y-Spot. I am very pleased to announce that we hit one of our goals. 4,000 viewing hours. This is huge, and it would not have happened without you. It would not have happened without you going in and watching the videos and, commenting. I was so shocked. It was about 2:30 a.m. in the morning, Saturday morning, and it was a message from YouTube and said, "Hey girl, you have got something good going on. You just hit 4K viewing hours." And I'm telling you, it would not happen without you. So now I bow to you. Thank you. Thank you. The next thing is we've got to hit 1,000 subscribers. So I want you to share with friends, family, co-workers, mom, dad, brothers, sisters, uncles, aunts, best friends, and let's go worldwide on YSpot. Okay, let's do it, let's do it, let's do it. Also, let me find out something very quickly here. For those of you who are just coming in, my name is Bray Morgan. I am a horror author. I am also a teller and a lover of scary stories. This was my first book, The Haunting of Hastings House. Terrible glare, but this was my first book and my baby, for sure. So, you know, I decided that I loved telling stories, so I loved writing them, so I wanted to tell them, and that's the reason that I started this live. This book is special though tonight because it's getting ready to be autographed live. This book is going out to a special person. Yes, please, please, please share on YSpot. We've got quite a mountain to climb with those subscribers, but it's gonna happen by word of mouth, and we're almost to 500 subscribers now, but we're gonna need another 5. Can we do it? Oh yeah, we definitely can. So this book, this is sweet. So this book is going to someone very special. Is she here? Just confirming before I say it. Okay, I see it now. Okay, so both of you are here. Okay, cool. All right. This book is to Kimmy from Jester. And this is just a special message for Kimmy. Jester and Kimmy have been night watchers on this live for a long time now, and they are very special and very dear to my heart. So this is just a special message to Kimmy. And Kimmy, you will know what this means when I say the letters. Ha ha. That sounds like Jester, doesn't it? Ha ha. Gotcha. ILYSAT. Thank you for being you, for being my rock, and being my light in my darkest days. Oh, that's beautiful. I love it. So I'm going to autograph it here, and then I will be is there any particular special message that you would like in there, Kimmy? Kimmy, do you want to come up in the box? I've already signed the name. So now I know there's going to be something special that I'm going to be writing in there. Let's do Jester and Kimmy. Yeah, let's get them both in here. Hello there, Kimmy.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good.
Good. Is Jester in there yet?
I think I've seen him.
I see X. X, do you want to be in the box? That is so sweet, Kimmy. I'm like almost tearing up. Let me see. So sweet. Let's see. There he is. Jester! Oh, Jester. Are you there?
Yeah.
Hey. Hey, lovebirds. I have to tell you, you've almost got me crying over here. I was tearing up when I was reading the letters, so that is something special. Is there anything that you want me to write in it for you?
Nothing that comes to mind.
Okay. All right, well, I signed it, and after the live, I'm going to include a special message from Jester to you, okay?
Okay.
All right, you lovebirds, I'll let you get back to what you were doing, but I appreciate you all. We love you all. You're so awesome.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, take care. So romantic, so adorable. So here you are, the haunting of Hastings House. I hope you enjoy it, Kimmy. All right. I will get that out in, I will put that special message in there. That's the kind of things that we do on this live. We're family. We're not just some live that you come in and you sit and you just watch. This is a very interactive family. It's, I have had so many people to say to me recently that this show is healing for them. That it's like a medicine for them. And that is exactly what I wanted. That is what I wanted it to be, was a place where you can come in and you can just relax and unwind and heal and hold on one second. A place where you can come heal and unwind and just let the cares of the world just float away for at least a couple of hours. It makes you fall asleep, and it does that too. You're right, Diana. All right. So what are you thinking about Cherry Hill? Do you want more? Uh-oh. Hold on. Hold the horse. Hold the horsey. All right, there we go. I knew that's what was called. Me in this chair. Oh my God. I'm gonna whip it though. I love it. It is very tall, but I can't get it to go down. It is very tall. All right. It is. It's just sticking. So I'm going to have to work with it. I put it together yesterday and it was doing great, but now it's like it won't do anything. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to bother with it right now. I do know that. All right, let's get back into the story. Maggie stared at Graham across the kitchen table, her mind still buzzing with everything that he said. You're going with me, or you're not going at all. He had no idea how much that sounded like a challenge. She could feel the stubbornness coil in her chest, the familiar defiance that had gotten her through 1,000 storms in her life already. She wasn't about to be told what to do, not by Graham Sinclair, and certainly not by the Black Pass. I need to get back to Cherry Hill House, she said finally, standing and brushing imaginary crumbs from her hands. Dune is alone. He's probably starving at this point. Graham leaned back in his chair, the picture of calm arrogance, one arm draped casually over the backrest, a ghost of a smirk tugged at his mouth. Don't worry about Dune, he said. The cat looks like he could live off field mice for a week. Her eyes narrowed, but she didn't rise to the bait. I just have things that I need to take care of. He lifted his coffee cup, watching her over the room, and said evenly, You're not going anywhere today. She froze. Excuse me? Without reply, he reached toward the radio that sat on the counter, a small battered thing that looked as though it had been there for decades, and turned the dial up a notch. A man's voice cracked through the static, calm and professional, but edged with warning. Severe rain system has moved in overnight that caused multiple washouts along the ridge roads. Cherry Hill Mountain Road is impassable in both directions. Motorists are urged to remain where they are until further notice. We expect crews to begin clearing later this evening, but for now, stay put and stay safe. The voice faded back into a hum of static. Maggie just stood there, staring at him, her mouth parting slightly but no words coming out. He didn't gloat exactly, but there was something in the way his lips curved, one brow arching in quiet satisfaction. See? He said, his voice low and amused. Even nature's on my side. She crossed her arms, though the warmth in her chest betrayed her irritation. So what? You're holding me hostage now? He tilted his head, that maddening spark still playing at his mouth. Not hostage, Maggie. Guest. There's a difference. I don't feel like a guest at this moment, she muttered. You'd rather drive a flooded road and end up in a ditch or up the side of a mountain? She glared at him, but she couldn't argue. Outside, the rain had picked up again, a fine steady mist that blurred the glass wall and streaked down the mountain view in long silver trails. The low rumble of thunder rolled through the valley, soft but insistent. Yep, looks like you're stuck with me and Connor, he said, his tone light but his eyes sharp as they lingered on her. Her pulse quickened at that, because she knew he was right. She was stuck in this cabin with him, in this impossible, maddening in-between where she didn't know if she trusted him or wanted to run from him, or both. Connor gave a low grunt from a spot near the fireplace, as if declaring a truce on behalf of the house. Maggie turned away, pretending to busy herself with her empty coffee cup. Okay, fine, she said finally. But the first moment that road opens, I'm going back. Graham's voice followed her, deep and sure. We'll see. She looked back at him, ready to snap something sharp. But the sight of him, God, the sight of him, barefoot, hair tousled, the faintest trace of a smile still on his lips, stole a retort before it could form. She wondered what his chest looked like. Maggie, stop. She chided herself, but she couldn't help It was the conditions, it was the cabin, it was the closeness, it was... For a moment, the storm outside and the storm between them felt exactly the same. Relentless, electric, and unavoidable. The storm had softened into a whisper, rain brushing against the window panes like fingertips. The steady hum of it filled the room, broken only by the occasional crackle of the fireplace and the slow tick of the old clock on the wall. Tick, tock, tick, tock. Maggie was curled on the couch beneath the heavy wool blanket, her legs stretched out, her phone idle in her hand. Graham had set up the pillows behind her head himself, making sure that she was comfortable. Connor was asleep on the rug near the fire, his head on his paws, occasionally twitching in some gentle dog dream. The cabin glowed in lamplight, low, amber, warm. The air smelled of cedar and rain. And the rhythm of the storm beyond the glass was hypnotic. Maggie tapped her phone screen again, even though she already knew what it would say. "I have no signal here," she murmured. Graham didn't look up from his chair by the fireplace. "You won't," he said, his voice quiet and certain. "Not up here, especially not with all the rain. It knocks everything out." Her lips pressed together in frustration. "Of course it does." "Who do you need to call?" he asked, glancing toward her, one brow lifting. "I have a landline phone." She hesitated and then sighed. "It's nothing important." He tilted his head. "Doesn't sound like nothing, lass." "Worry's written all over your face." Her thumb worried at the edge of her phone. "Court," she said finally. She didn't want to tell him too much. "A custody hearing. It's supposed to be tomorrow morning." He nodded slightly, taking that in. "That can wait. The storm's enough of an excuse for any judge." "I know," she said softly. "It's just..." She trailed off, her voice thinning. "I haven't seen her in so long." Graham shifted forward in his chair, setting his coffee down on the table between them. "What's her name?" Maggie's eyes flicked up. The guarded expression entered her face. "Why?" "Because I want to know." For a moment, the only sound was the soft patter of rain. Then she exhaled and leaned back against the pillows. "Her name's Curly," she said quietly. Graham's brow lifted, the corner of his mouth curving just slightly. "Curly?" "She's got a head full of red curls," Maggie said, her voice brightening for the first time all day. "The reddest head of hair you've ever seen. And the most vivacious little spirit you've ever seen. She's got green eyes like mine, and she laughs at everything. She's..." Her words caught, and she smiled faintly. "She's fire and joy and stubbornness, all rolled into one. And she's mine." Her throat tightened as she repeated it. "She's mine. But," she whispered. Graham's tone was gentle, probing. "But I haven't seen her," she said. "Not in months. Not since the hearing was filed." He sat back slightly, watching her, his expression unreadable. Why? She rubbed her hands together, searching for words. Her father, James, he says I'm an unfit mom. That after everything that happened, that I'm not the same. She gave a hollow laugh. He says Curly needs stability, that she's scared of me. Her fingers clenched around the blanket. I know my daughter, she's not scared of me. She loves me. I know she does, and I know it's tearing her apart being away from me. He's twisting everything, the attack, the nightmare, my career falling apart. He's using it all against me. Her fingers clenched around the blanket. But she's not scared. My daughter is not scared of me. Her voice cracked and she shook her head. I'm sorry. Too much information. I don't know why I'm telling you this. You know what? Graham reached over and set his cup aside. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, his tone low and steady. Last, you can talk about it. You can tell me anything, Maggie. I want to know it all. He said quietly. You can talk about it with me. Sometimes it helps to let it out. You can let your guard down here with me. Now. She looked at him for a long moment, the firelight dancing across his features, the patience in his eyes, and then she nodded slightly. It all started with the attack, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. He didn't interrupt, though he already knew more than she guessed. Her name, her books, the headline, the photos, he read them all. He just wanted to hear it from her. Tell me, he said softly. She drew in a shaky breath. He left me for another woman, she said. But before that, he tried to make me believe that I was losing my mind. After the attack, after everything, he said that I wasn't the same. Maybe I wasn't. Maybe I'm still not. The attack, Graham questioned gently. Yeah. Yes, she whispered hoarsely. That was the night everything was taken from me. My peace, my confidence, my safety, my little girl, my writing career. I feel like I'm clawing most days trying to get it back. Her voice faded, and for a long moment, neither of them spoke. The fire crackled, the rain deepened its rhythm. Connor sighed softly, rolling onto his side near the hearth. Then Graham said, "You will. You'll get yourself back." You know what's so funny? I was at a book signing. She looked up at him, eyes rimmed with tears. I was thirsty because I had talked so much. And all I was craving was a cherry limeade from Sonic. That was it. He leaned back in his chair, his face shadowed in the golden light. He was getting ready to hear it all. And he was ready to hear it. James always told me to lock the car doors. I never listened. She stared into the fire, recalling that night. I heard the back door open. I felt the blade at my throat. He told me to drive. So I did. He told me to drive to this field. He thought it would be empty, but it wasn't. There was a bunch of deer hunters that were parked in their trucks with their spotlights. I screamed. I laid down on the horn. If I hadn't have did it, I wouldn't be here. And I know I wouldn't. And I think that's what gets me. And then everything just stopped after that. I went nowhere. I stopped fixing myself up. James and I grew further apart. We were already further apart. Who am I kidding? I think the only reason that we were together was because of Pearlie. I know that I should be grateful. I know I should be thankful. I know that I should be happy, but I'm not. Maggie, what you suffered was traumatic. I didn't know you went through that, Lois. They just stared at each other. The afternoon faded into a muted gray. The fire hummed in its cradle of stone, the scent of burning oak, thick and sweet. Connor's rhythmic breathing came from the rug in front of the hearth. Maggie drifted between waking and dreaming, the warmth wrapping around her like a cocoon. Rain whispered on the roof, constant and soothing. Every so often, thunder muttered somewhere deep in the valley, but even that seemed far away now. When she opened her eyes again, the light in the cabin, it changed. It was deeper now, the kind that comes before evening. The fire had settled into a red glow. Connor was still on the rug, tail twitching in sleep, but the chair by the hearth was empty. Maggie sat up slowly, the blanket sliding down her legs. The room felt different without Graham's quiet presence. And she couldn't have said why that bothered her. She stood padding barefoot across the wooden floor toward the wide wall of glass. Outside, the storm was still in full force. Sheets of rain swept across the valley. Rivulets ran like silver veins down the roads below. The trees bowed beneath the wind, their branches whispering secrets she couldn't quite catch. She pressed her palm to the cold glass, tracing the outlines of the mountains blurred by the fog. A flash of lightning illuminated the ridges, then left them swallowed in gray again. She didn't hear him at first, only sensed the shift in the air. Then she saw it. The faint reflection of his shadow moving through the dimness behind her, tall and solid. He stopped just a few feet away, his voice low enough to blend with the rain. What are you looking at, Lois? The Black Pass. I must have fallen asleep. she asked, still looking out at the storm. A few hours, he said. You needed it. A pause, and then lightly, I was thinking about cooking something for supper. Thought you might come into the kitchen and keep me company. She turned to face him and nearly collided with him. He was close, far closer than she'd expected. His flannel shirt damp at the shoulder from the mist outside. The scent of rain and pine clung to him. She had to tilt her chin upward to meet his eyes. He was watching her quietly, something unreadable flickering behind that calm exterior. Her fingers brushed his chest as she steadied herself, and before she could even think, she'd caught a handful of his shirt. The fabric bunched beneath her hand, warm from his skin. For a long heartbeat, neither of them moved. The fire popped. The rain thickened against the glass. Her pulse beat in her throat loud enough that she was sure that he could hear it. And he came closer. What are you doing? She whispered. He leaned just slightly closer, his breath stirring a loose strand of her hair. His voice was deep and rough. I'm going to kiss you, Maggie, he said, voice roughened to a whisper. He ran a thumb over her lips. It's something I've wanted to do since the first moment I saw you in my uncle's office. She felt the words more than heard them, a vibration that seemed to settle in her chest. I could push you away, she murmured, though her voice had no strength behind it. You could, he said, his eyes never leaving hers. But you're not. The rain pressed harder against the cabin, a curtain of sound around them. For a suspended moment, the world seemed to narrow to the space between them, the heat of the fire, the storm, the breath they shared. The space between them had completely vanished. Graham's breath mingled with hers. She could feel the warmth of it. The smell of coffee, steady and sure. His eyes were a storm all their own, blue-green under the flicker of lightning, searching her face like he was memorizing every inch. Her voice was barely a whisper. There's been no one since, James. His expression softened, the faintest trace of a smile ghosting across his mouth. That's a shame, he murmured. His thumb brushed lightly over her bottom lip again, tracing it once, slow and deliberate. Then his hands moved to her cheek, fingers playing against her skin, the calluses of his palm warm and rough. For a heartbeat, they just breathed, suspended in the hush of the storm. Then he bent his head, and he kissed her. It was soft at first, testing, uncertain. Then something deeper unfurled between them, the kind that burned slow and bright. She rose onto her toes, her hand sliding against the hard plane of his chest, the flannel rough beneath her fingers. His arm came around her waist, pulling her closer into the world outside. The thunder, the wind, the rain was just noise against the glass. The kiss deepened, warm and sure, until Connor barked suddenly from the hearth. A crack of lightning split the sky, white and wild, flooding the cabin in a flash of electric blue. They broke apart, breathing hard, eyes still locked. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then Graham huffed a quiet laugh, the corner of his mouth lifting. Maggie smiled too, breathless, the air between them charged and shimmering like the storm outside. Good timing, Connor, she said, glancing toward the dog. Connor wagged his tail once and gave another soft woof, as if to agree. Graham's thumb lingered against her cheek before he dropped her hand. Come on, he said softly, voice still rough with passion. Let's feed the watchdog before he decides to run the rest of the evening. Maggie nodded, still feeling the ghost of the kiss upon her lips. She touched her lips as he led her into the kitchen, still hearing the rain beat steady against the glass as the thunder rolled on through the mountains. The moment lingered like smoke in the air, warm and unspoken. Graham turned toward the kitchen, his hand still brushing hers. For a second, she thought he might touch her again, but instead he busied himself with the practical, the clatter of dishes, the scrape of a chair. The kitchen was a golden glow against the storm outside, the recessed lights catching the steam that drifted from the kettle. The smell of rain and pine drifted through the slightly open window. Somewhere, thunder rolled softly through the valley. Connor patted in behind them, nails clicking on the wood, circling the table before setting again by the fire with a sigh. Graham opened the fridge, his voice casual but slightly strained. Still raining hard, he said. Power's held on so far, but I don't trust it. He set a carton of eggs and a block of cheese on the counter. How do you feel about an omelet? That sounds perfect, Maggie said, her voice quieter than she meant it to be. Good. He gave a small smile, one that didn't quite mask the warmth still in his eyes. She moved to the other side of the counter, trying to focus on something, anything, besides the memory of his mouth on hers. Her fingers found the edge of the wooden counter, tracing the grain absently. Every now and then she glanced at him, his sleeves rolled up, the strength in his arms and his wrists and his forearms, his hair falling across his forehead in a boyish way, shoulders broad in that dark flannel shirt. When their eyes met, neither of them looked away immediately. So, she said softly, was that supposed to happen? He paused, spatula in hand, and tilted his head just slightly. I don't know, he said, but I don't regret it. The silence between them thickened again. The only sounds were the crack of eggs on the pan, the faint hiss of butter meeting heat, and the steady percussion of rain against the windows. Maggie crossed her arms loosely, trying to appear relaxed, but her heart was pounding. She wasn't sure if it was the storm or him, or maybe both. Do you ever do that? She asked, voice teasing to hide her nerves. Kiss women who wander out into storms and bring them home? That earned a low laugh from him, deep and warm. No, he said. You're my first. Well, she said, I guess I should be honored then. You should be. His eyes flicked up to hers again. You're not exactly easy to forget, Maggie Drake. Her breath caught again and she had to look away, down at her hands. Flattery, she murmured. Observation, he corrected softly. The storm rattled the window pane and another streak of lightning illuminated the glass wall beyond. The light rippled through the cabin, painting his profile in silver and gold. He slid the plate toward her a few minutes later. Omelet for the storm survivor. She smiled, sitting opposite him. And what about you, Graham Sinclair? I can tell that we're not on the Black Pass side. Where are we? No, we're on the Highland side. I wouldn't live over there if you dragged me. It's beautiful here. It's a different view of Cherry Hill. Aren't you gonna have an omelet? He raised his beer in mock salute. I'll do with this. For a while they ate in silence, the comfortable kind threaded with awareness. Every time their hands brushed, reaching for something, the air seemed to tighten. The charge in the air was thick. When the thunder cracked again, Maggie jumped slightly. Graham's eyes flicked toward her, concern shadowed with something else. Maggie, nothing's gonna hurt you here, he said, and there was a promise in it, a quiet, solid one. The air thickened again, heavy and slow. Her gaze fell to his mouth. He noticed. Graham, she began, uncertain what she meant to say, but his name came out like a breath. He stood slow and deliberate, coming around to the side of the table. When he stopped beside her, the air between them seemed to hum. Don't, she whispered. Don't what? He murmured, leaning down. Don't look at me like that. Like what, lass? Like you're going to kiss me again? He smiled faintly, leaned closer, his voice a low rumble against her ear. But I am. And when his lips met hers again, the storm outside didn't seem nearly as loud. The moment between them broke open like a storm outside. Graham scraped her chair back. Before she could think, he'd pulled her up into his arms. The breath rushed from her chest as he lifted her easily, his hands clutching at her shoulders, the warmth of him, the scent of rain and cedar clinging to his flannel, surrounded her as he carried her to the couch. He sat her down gently, brushing a strand of hair from her face. The firelight threw amber across his features, softening the sharpness of him. Maggie, he said, his voice low and rough, as he cupped her face. I know you've been hurt, lass. Her breath caught at the sound of it. He knelt beside her, one hand still tangled with hers. I know that bastard hurt you, and if I could wrap my hands around his neck for what he did, I would. But you're here now. His thumb stroked over the back of her hand, slow and careful. You're here with me. And you're safe. She stared up at him, eyes glassy from tears she didn't even know she had anymore. You can trust me, he went on, his voice quieter now. I'm never gonna let anything hurt you. Her lips parted. It's been so long. Something broke in her tone, fragility mixed with longing. She saw James then, unbidden. The rigid Thursday night rituals, the indifference, the way she'd felt unseen even in his arms for years. Her throat tightened and Graham saw it. His words came out harsh. Stop thinking about him, he murmured. His hand came to her face, fingertips tracing the line of her jaw, his thumb brushing the edge of her lip. Think about now. Think about me. Think about us. Think about this moment. Lightning flashed, silvering the glass wall behind them. The thunder rolled deep and distant. He bent closer until she could feel his breath against her mouth. Graham, she whispered. Shh. His voice was a rasp, a promise. Just us, Maggie. When his lips found hers again, it wasn't rushed. It was slow and certain, the kind of kiss that felt like warmth after cold, like light after too many nights alone. The fire cracked, the rain whispered against the windows. Her fingers curled into his shirt, and for the first time in a very long time, Maggie let herself stop to think. The air between them thickened until it felt alive. Graham's mouth hovered just above hers, and Maggie could taste the warmth of his breath, could feel the thunder of his heartbeat under her fingertips when they rested against his chest. Outside, the storm raged on, wind clawing at the windows, rain whispering secrets against the glass. But inside the cabin, time seemed to slow. The glow of the fire painted everything in gold and shadow, the light flickering over their faces as though it too were caught between wanting and restraint. Their breaths mingled, shallow and uneven. He didn't want to scare her. He finally whispered against her lips, his voice rough and low. "I've wanted you since the first moment I saw you." Her eyes widened, the confession slicing through like heat through fog. "That day," he continued, his voice trembling with honesty, "in my uncle's office, you were standing there with your hair pulled back, looking like you were holding the world together with sheer will. And I thought, God help me. I want her. And every day since, I've thought about you, Maggie Drake. I can't seem to stop." The words hung in the air between them, heavy, irrevocable. Maggie's heart ached with the truth of it. No one had looked like they wanted her in years. Not since before everything fell apart, not since before James, before the fear, before the endless nights alone. Her voice came out in a whisper. "Why now?" "Because," he said, brushing a thumb along her cheekbone, "you keep standing in the dark, Maggie Drake, pretending you belong there, lass. And all I've ever wanted to do is push the darkness away, to take it from you for just one night, to let there be light again, even if it's only tonight." She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Every wall she had built began to crumble beneath the weight of his words. When he kissed her, it was deep and unhurried, the kind of kiss that erased everything else, the kind that carried warmth into the places that had been cold for far too long. She tasted smoke and something wild about him that she couldn't name. Her hand slid up to the chest, to the back of his neck, and pulled him closer. He caught her face between his palms as if she were something breakable, something precious. The fire crackled, the thunder rolled, their breaths quickened, mingling with the rhythm of the storm. And for one suspended heartbeat in that mountain cabin, with the rain beating like a pulse on the windows and the flames painting her skin in gold, Maggie stopped fighting. She surrendered to him, to the moment. Graham looked at her, and something shifted in his eyes. Determination, hunger, want, need, desire. She saw it all there. The storm raged outside the cabin, wind howling through the pines, but Maggie could barely hear it. His kiss changed. When Graham was kissing her like this, it was like she was air, and he was drowning for it. "Graham, I'm not..." She started pulling back, her voice trembling. "Graham, I'm not one of those young girls." Shh. His rough, gravelly Scottish voice silenced her protest. Those blue-green eyes, bedroom eyes that could undo her with a single look, locked onto hers with an intensity that stole her breath. Don't do that." Before she could argue, he swept her up from the couch, cradling her against his broad chest as if she weighed nothing. Connor scrambled after them, nails clicking frantically on the hard wood, but when Graham kicked open his bedroom door and carried Maggie inside, he shut it firmly in the dog's face. A confused whine sounded from the other side, followed by the thump of Connor settling with an indignant huff. The room was dark, except for the lantern on the dresser. Graham laid her gently on the bed, and the room wrapped around them, intimate and shadowed, lit only by the lightning flashing through rain-streaked windows. He stood beside the bed, holding her gaze, as he slowly unbuttoned his flannel top. Each button revealed more of his chest, solid and masculine, exactly what Maggie had pictured in the kitchen, covered with a fine layer of dark hair. When he shrugged his shirt off, Maggie's breath caught in her throat. She couldn't speak. She could only stare. He came to her then, stretching out beside her on the bed, propping himself up on one elbow. His salt and pepper hair fell across his forehead, and rain hammered against the glass like a racing heartbeat. His fingers found the belt of her robe, pausing there, waiting. His blue-green eyes searched hers in the flickering darkness. She couldn't find words, couldn't do anything but nod, a tiny movement that said everything. Graham slowly untied the rope, parting it to reveal his blue flannel shirt beneath. Seeing her wearing his clothes made something primal flash across his features. Possession and tenderness mixed into one devastating look. I wanted you from the first second I saw you, Maggie Drake, he said, his burr thick with emotion, in my uncle's law office. His fingers moved to the top button of the flannel, his flannel, and slowly undid it. Then his mouth descended, pressing against the skin he just revealed at the hollow of her throat. His lips were hot, searing. You were everything I'd ever wanted in a woman. Everything I wondered if it even existed. Another button, another kiss. This one at her collarbone. You're so strong, Liz. The flannel parted further as he worked the next button free. His mouth traced lower. Beautiful. Another button, another kiss that made her tremble. Courageous. When he pressed his lips just above her heart, he paused and his voice went rough. You scared me to death last when I saw you beneath that tree last night. I thought you were dead. He kissed her again, achingly tender. I realized then how much I wanted you. His lips moved lower as he undid the final buttons. How much I needed you. Maggie was coming completely undone. Each kiss burned through her like lightning. Each word remade something broken inside her. Her breath came in short, trembling gasp, but then she felt it, that old instinct to retreat, to hide, to run back into the safe darkness of fear. Graham saw it immediately, that flicker in her green eyes. His hand cupped her face firm and gentle at once. You're not going there, Maggie Drake. You're not going back to the shadows. You're staying here with me tonight, lass. She nodded again, and this time she reached for him, shy, hesitant, but reaching. He finished removing the flannel shirt, sliding it down her slender arms and tossing it aside. Then the robe followed. She lay before him vulnerable and bare, her red hair spilling across his pillow like fire. Every instinct screamed at her to cover herself, to hide the changes time and trauma had carved into her body. But Graham looked at Maggie like she was sacred. Mulcreed, he whispered, the Gaelic rolling off his tongue like whiskey and smoke. Do you know what that means, lass? My heart. You're so beautiful it hurts, Maggie Drake. His hands traced her slowly, her shoulders, her ribs, the curve of her waist, her hip. Where she saw flaws, his touch found only wonder. He mapped every inch of her with his fingers, his mouth following, pressing kisses to skin that hadn't been touched with tenderness in years. When he stood and removed his clothing to where he was bare, Maggie's eyes followed him. He was confident and sure of himself, completely in control. And when he was finally bare before her, strong and solid and gloriously real, she trembled. He saw it, saw the tremor run through her as he lay down beside her. "You don't have to be afraid," he asked, settling back inside her. She shook her head. It wasn't fear. It wasn't fear. It was need, an overwhelmingly terrifying need for him. Graham gathered her close, his body warm against hers, chasing away the cold that had lived in her bones for too long. "I've got you, Liz," he murmured. "I'm right here." When he moved over her, settling between her thighs, his weight was a comfort. His eyes held hers as they came together, slowly, carefully, giving her time to adjust. Maggie gasped at the feeling of him, at the rightness of it. "Breathe," he whispered, his forehead pressed to hers. "Just breathe. Mon God." He began to move, and the world narrowed to this, to them, to the storm raging outside and the fire burning between them, building. Graham's hands were everywhere, his mouth never leaving her skin. He whispered to her in English and Gaelic, words of praise and desire that she didn't always understand, but felt it in her bones. "Mon Creed, so perfect. Tatu Elaine, you're mine, Maggie, mine." Her red hair was vivid against his dark sheets, her green eyes locked on his blue-green ones as lightning flashed. She gave herself over to him completely, to his hands, his mouth, his body moving with hers in perfect rhythm. "Let go," he urged, his voice rough. "I've got you. Let go." And she did. She surrendered to it. To the pleasure, to the connection, to being truly seen and wanted and desired and needed. When release crashed through her, Graham was there, holding her tight, following her over the edge moments later with her name a groan against her neck. Afterward, he pulled the quilt over them, tucking her against his chest. The storm was easing outside, the rain softening to a gentle rhythm. His fingers traced lazy patterns on her shoulder, his other hand buried in her long red hair. And then he saw the scar on the side of her neck. And he knew that scar, where it came from. Gently but firmly, he pressed her head down onto his shoulder, cradling her against him. "Sleep, lass," he murmured, his Scottish burr both soft and commanding. "Don't think about anything, just sleep. I'll keep the shadows away." Maggie pressed her face into the curve of his neck, feeling safe for the first time in longer than she could remember. His heartbeat was steady beneath her cheek. "I'm not going anywhere," she whispered. His arms tightened around her, and within minutes, exhaustion claimed her. She fell into sleep, wrapped in warmth and safety. But in the early morning hours, as the embers sank low in the fireplace, another fire began to rage. Maggie stirred, consciousness returning slowly. The storm had passed, leaving behind a hushed stillness, broken only by the soft patter of leftover rain. Gray dawn light filtered through the windows, painting everything in shades of silver. She was warm, cocooned in Graham's quilt and his arms. And then she felt it, his mouth on her shoulder, pressing soft kisses along her skin. Graham. Her voice was sleep rough. Shh, lass. His purr was even deeper in the early morning, textured like velvet. Just let me. His hand slid down her side, over the curve of her hip, and she realized that he had been awake, watching her, wanting her, and that knowledge sent heat flooding through her. Again, she whispered, shy even now. Aye. He nipped gently at her earlobe, again and again. I told you more, Creed. I wanted you too long. One time will never be enough. He guided her onto her back, and in the gray morning light, she could see him clearly, the silver threading through his dark hair, the hunger in those blue-green eyes, the set of his jaw. He was devastating. I want to see you, he said, drawing the quilt slowly down her body. All of you, in the light. Maggie's instinct was to cover herself, but he caught her hands gently, pinning them beside her head. No hiding, not from me. Never from me. His gaze traveled over her slowly, thoroughly, and she trembled under the weight of it, not from cold, but from the way he looked at her like she was precious, like she was his. Fatu Choalan, he murmured. So beautiful. Then his mouth was on hers again, and this time it was different, slower, more deliberate. He took his time, kissing and tasting every inch of her. His hands learned what made her gasp, what made her arch, what made her moan his name. He was in complete control, and she surrendered to it, giving herself over entirely. Graham, please. She didn't even know what she was begging for, but she was begging. I know what you need, lass. His voice was pure gravel and sin. Trust me. And she did. God help her, she did. He worshipped her with his mouth until she was writhing, until coherent thought fled and there was only sensation, only him. When he finally moved over again, settling between her, she was already trembling with need. Look at me, he commanded softly. I want to see those beautiful green eyes. She opened her eyes, meeting his gaze, as he entered her slowly, so slowly, drawing out the moment until she thought she might shatter from anticipation alone. Mulgrad, Mulgreed, he whispered, beginning to move. My love, my heart. This time was different from the night before. This was unhurried, deliberate, a claiming that went bone deep. Graham set the pace, sometimes slow and deep, sometimes harder, faster, always watching her face, learning what she needed before she knew herself. You're mine now, he said, his accent thick, his control fraying at the edges. Say it. She didn't. Say it. Yours, she gasped. I'm yours. Damn right you are. He shifted his angle and suddenly stars exploded behind her eyelids. She cried out, fingers digging into his shoulders. That's it, lass. Let me hear you. Let me feel you. The gray dawn light grew brighter as they moved together, as the fire between them built higher. Graham's hands were on her hips, guiding her, his mouth at her neck, his jaw capturing her lips in deep, possessive kisses. When she finally broke, it was with his name on her lips, a plea, a prayer, a promise. Graham followed her immediately, groaning words in Gaelic she didn't understand, but thought in her soul. They collapsed together, breathing hard, hearts racing. This time, when he pulled the quilt over them, the room was darker. Morning had truly arrived, but along with it, a new storm. Graham kissed the side of her face, and then her earlobe, the side of her neck. Maggie froze. Did you just hear him say, Kenna? Stay with me today, Graham murmured, pressing a kiss to her temple. Don't leave this bed. Let me keep you here. Keep you safe. Maggie leaned against his chest, her fingers tracing a slight pattern, but she couldn't get that name out of her head. Graham had called her Kenna. Had she said that name around him? She couldn't remember. She tilted her head to look up at him at that moment. And what she saw in his eyes took her breath away. This wasn't just passion. This was something more, something that terrified her and thrilled her in equal measure. Mole Creed, he whispered, tucking a strand of red hair behind her ear. My heart, that's what you are now. Don't forget it. And wrapped in his arms as morning broke, soft and golden around them, Maggie slept. And that is the reading of Cherry Hill tonight. I hope that you enjoyed the reading. I was a romance author, yes, I was. So, so what do you think now? I would love to get into your minds and see. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So glad that y'all enjoyed it. I have heated up homes across America. So we will. You're thinking Graham is her protector? Could be. Oh, I'm so glad you like it. Cherry Hill is always a different night. We don't do the lighting and everything. We'll do that tomorrow night for sure. For those of you who did not see the dress, I will show it now. So it is long and black and flowing. And it's got these lovely sleeves. That just kind of make everything very good. It is sequined and it is long. Very, very, very. Hey, hope you love Little Butterfly. Where you could get a Graham? Yeah, Graham is, he's interesting. So glad that y'all enjoyed it. So glad, so glad. Yeah, so I've just kind of combined horror and romance together. What do you think? Does it work? I believe you could probably find a Graham in Scotland. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be taking excerpts. Let me turn off the screen recording. So what I'm going to be doing now is taking screen excerpts and breaking them up into clips and posting them at night. So not only will you be getting those stories on YouTube, but you'll also be getting probably like about 5 or 6 minute segments of the story. So that's my next thing that I'm working on. You are welcome. Why did he call her Kenna? I think the reason that that's the reason that she looked at him the way she did, and that's the reason that she stopped. Because if you remember, she had the nightmare, but it was kind of an intimate nightmare too, where she was, you know, in an intimacy with a man that she could not see, and he called her Kenna. And so I think when she heard Graham call her name, it kind of made the nightmare and reality kind of blend together, and she was like, oh, you know what I mean? You were in shock? Good. Good. I want you in shock. You'll just have to wait and see, Total Mom. You will just have to wait and see, Total Woman and Melanie. All right, everyone, go get you a Graham. Yeah, Pastelina. Go get you a Graham. Hey, Kelly. So I don't know if tonight's clips will be posted tonight because I've got to work on them. Yeah, this is a good one. I'll be honest with you. Cherry Hill is my favorite right now. It is. I love Crimson Queen. I love it, but Cherry Hill is a different vibe, and I am loving it. I am enjoying creating this world. Good night, good night, good night, Lulu. The tapping was a little low, wasn't it? Good night, everyone. Have a great night, and I will see you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern. Rose, I am working on getting a new publisher. So glad that you are enjoying it. You'll be able to watch it tomorrow on YouTube, and then I'm going to be working on TikTok. I love you all. I knew that's probably what it was. But thank you all so much. Thank you for the support tonight. Don't forget. Let's push Y-Spot. Let's push it, push it, push it, push it, push it. Real good. No, seriously, let's push it. Let's make it happen. Let's get to 1,000 subscribers. If we just do it in 10, if we can get 10 subscribers a night, can you imagine what that would do? We would be on our way. So I just want to thank everyone. Thank you for being here with me tonight. And I will see you tomorrow night for True Crime Tuesday. Oh, Rose Island Grandma, are your neighbors there with you? So Rose Island Grandma has a group of neighbors, about 10 in the group, and they sit and watch the live together. Isn't that awesome? She does it on a projection screen, and they sit and watch the show. So for all of you that are out there watching with Rose Island Grandma, welcome. You're a night dweller. Isn't that fantastic? Isn't that incredible? When she told me that today, I was absolutely ecstatic. I thought that was like the coolest thing. Good night, everyone. Good night, Hex. Love you. Love everyone. So I will see you tomorrow night for True Crime Tuesday. Have a beautiful evening. I believe they are, Melanie. I believe so. Love you. Love you, Justine. Everyone have a beautiful evening. I'll see you tomorrow night.